Okay everyone, so today I'm going to be making a resin bowl. So for my mold, I'm going to be just using this little container right here. It's probably about 6 inches wide and 8 inches deep. So it is pretty big and it is going to use a lot of resin. But to fill in all of the space for the resin, I'm going to be using these logs. So as you can see, they have cool vines that are twisting in them and it looks super cool. They were originally going to be walking sticks, but I had some left over, so I'm going to be using these. So they look super cool, and then I have a couple other plain ones that are a lighter color and should contrast really nice with them. So my epoxy resin I'm going to be using is just this one I got off eBay. Not really a brand, but it's for woodworking and fiberglass and all kinds of different things. So what I'm gonna do is I have this turquoise powder, some other powder, and I also have this really pretty blue dye that I also use. So now we'll just measure exactly how tall this mold is and then go on the chop saw and cut little segments of these sticks so that we can fill this whole thing in and then pour resin. Okay, I'm actually gonna be using the bandsaw because it kind of scares me cutting round logs on the chop saw. Excessive amount of these blocks, which means not all of them will be used. I cut tons of them because I am going to be looking through them and just finding the prettiest ones and make sure all of them contrast really good and fit together really nicely. So I'll just set them up like this and just kind of fit them in, and then we'll pour some resin and we can let it dry. So now I'm just going to organize them how I want them.
2 hours later.
Okay everyone, so I think I'm finally satisfied of how I have the logs organized. That took a really long time. But now I think I got them pretty tight in there, and I used up all the space I could with those logs, and I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 of them. And then I just tapped them with a hammer to make sure they're all together and in their spot. So now I'm just going to use this measuring cup, fill some resin, then fill curing agent, and then mix it up, put my coloring agent in, and then pour it on top, and hopefully I'll have enough. And it is 1-to-1 mixture. Mixing, never stop mixing, mixing. My arm is hurting. Mixing. So now the whole thing is full. It's looking amazing. I put the rocks in. I think they're probably gonna sink to the bottom, but it's completely full. And now I'm just gonna take this propane torch and just barely heat up the edge and just make all the air come out. So as you can see, just me tapping it makes tons of air bubbles come out, but just putting heat to it will make the air rise and then pop at the top. So. Now that the mold is just sitting there, I'm just gonna let it dry for a couple of days and we'll come back. We can get it out of the mold and work on it on the lathe. Just like that, with the power of editing, it is the next day, and this mold is very hard and very dry. And as you can see, it did overflow a little bit, and there's like tons on the table, which I'm having a fun time taking that off. But so somehow we need to get it out of the mold. So what I'm thinking is I'm just gonna go on the bandsaw and cut the top of it off so that this will be a flat surface and we can mount it to the wood lathe. And my awesome dad allowed me to use his wood lathe, so he has a nice big wood lathe over there, so I don't have to use my little tiny one. And my tool rest is broken. So let's go cut the top of this and then go mount it on the big wood lathe. Okay everyone, coming to the bandsaw, I am going to be using the sled just so I don't like chop off my fingers. But as you can see, I'll just put the round block right here, and since it has a 90-degree angle, it will hold right there and won't spin and go crazy. So I can just cut off the top and make it flat. Okay, so now that I just cut that flat surface off on the top, it's looking really cool. And to get this plastic off, I'm just gonna go on the bandsaw and just cut a little stripe in the plastic and then just peel it back. Okay, everyone, with that carpet knife and just a lot of time, I got the block completely off. A lot of cutting. It was pretty hard, but I think I'm just gonna put it on the lathe, chuck it up and start turning it. Okay everyone, so now that I'm at the wood lathe, I need to get my apron on. Okay, so now that I got my apron on, I need my chisel. Okay, now that I got my chisel, we can go to the wood lathe and start chiseling away. And since I am gonna be dealing with resin, I'm gonna be using my carbine tool, so I'm just gonna put a new blade on it so that it cuts the resin really good. Okay, now it's ready to cut. Oh yeah, one more thing, I need my visor. Now we can really start. Hey everyone, I've really never used this lathe, so this will be a new experience. This is a stubby wood lathe, and I've never really used something this big, which will be really fun to use, I think. So, let's start chiseling. This is day one. I was getting lots and lots of chatter really bad, so I was making the speed go faster and it was helping it a lot. So this is day one, and I'm just gonna go home and think about what I was doing and fix all my mistakes. So I took a break from shaping the bowl and just went inside and kind of cleared my mind. And my mom gave me an awesome idea. So there's gonna be a slight change of plans. What I'm gonna do is I'm just going to scribe a mark right in the center of the bowl and just take a parting tool and just make a nice little mark in the middle of it. Then I'll go over to the bandsaw again, cut it in half, and then my mom told me to make coasters out of one half and then a bowl out of the other half. I'll make just a little tiny like dish, and it'll look really cool. So now I'm just gonna smooth it out. We'll scribe a line and then cut it on the bandsaw. So now you can see this is my bowl blank. I just cut it on the bandsaw, and it's about 3.5 inches thick and a 5-inch diameter. And you can see that's where the tailstock was pushing on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this 3-inch Forstner bit, and I'm just gonna drill about a 1/2 inch inset. And that's gonna be for my chuck to go in and pull out. So it's gonna be like a reverse chuck. So let's go just drill this on the drill press. I'm done with that. That took a really long time, and that was really hard to do because it was such a big Forstner bit, and this is super hard material. So now you can see I just have that little indentation, and the chuck will just go in and then push out and hold on to the blank. So now let's go over to the wood lathe, and we can put the chuck on. different day, and I have the bowl blank off of the big lathe. But as you can see, there's some really big cracks right here and there's just some bubbles throughout the whole bowl. And I don't really want to hollow it out because then it would have holes in it and cracks, and it might completely explode on the lathe. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of this 5-minute epoxy resin. We'll mix it in this cup. Then I'm gonna take some of this red dye. So it's the same dye as the other blue one I used, but just red. And I'm just gonna put a little bit in there. And then I'm just gonna take some duct tape and I'm just gonna mask the bottom of the bowl. So whenever I pour the new resin into the cracks, it won't spill out and it'll act like a barrier. So I'm just gonna mix some new epoxy and then I'm just gonna pour it into the cracks, and hopefully it'll soak in there and we can let it dry, then turn on the lathe and finish the bowl. That the bowl has the glue on it, I'm just gonna let it dry for about an hour, and then we can put it on the lathe and start chiseling off this red and start hollowing it out. Okay, everyone. So the epoxy's been drying for about an hour and a half. It's pretty dry, but now I'm just gonna put the chuck back onto the piece, and then we can go over to the lathe and do a little bit of work on the bowl. Done shaping. I got the shape I want. It's looking really great, and the epoxy filled up most of the holes, which is really good. And now I need to move on to the next step, which is hollowing out the bowl. A power went out. Really? Darn it. It's doing so good too. There we go. Guess I can't chisel that hard. For the third time, the breaker went out. You serious? I've been chiseling on this for about 30 minutes, and I think I'm completely done. I'm pretty satisfied with it. I'm not gonna do any more chiseling because I am kind of scared I'm gonna ruin it because the stuff is so brittle and really, really hard to chisel. So the next step is I'm just gonna go to sanding and do tons of sanding until it's the right shape I want it and make it super smooth. So I'm just gonna, I think, start with 100 grit sandpaper just to get out like the lines and just get out the major lines in it, and then we can go to like 600 grit to get out the little tiny fine lines, and we will be done. But let's go sand. Do remember to wear a mask. done sanding and I am satisfied with the finish. I just went up to 600 grit sandpaper, but it looks really nice. And now for the fun part, which is the finish. I'm just gonna finish the inside with some of this shellawax, and rub it on the inside so it'll be food safe. Took the bowl off the lathe. It's looking really great. So I didn't show this part, but right once I got it off the lathe, I just put a coat of gloss lacquer on it just to make it shine a little bit better, and it looks really, really nice. So now what we need to do is just sand the bottom on the belt sander. So let's go do that real quick.